Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
What is an American chestnut? The American chestnut is a large deciduous tree of the beech family native to eastern North America. It is one of the most important forest trees throughout its range and was considered the finest chestnut trees in the world. The American chestnut has long canoe-shaped leaves with a prominent lance-shaped tip and forward hooked teeth at the edge of the leaf. The leaf is dull or matte rather than shiny/waxy in texture. Its scientific name is Cascada dentata. Where it all started, the American chestnut tree reigned over 200 million acres of eastern woodlands from Maine to Florida and from the Piedmont Plateau in the Carolinas west to the Ohio Valley. In 1904, an importation of Japanese chestnuts into the New York Botanical Garden contained a deadly fungus.
Cryphonectria parasitica grows on American chestnut trees, which are more susceptible to this fungus than Asian chestnut trees. It is in the domain Eukaryota and kingdom fungi. Growing on the bark of these trees are yellow-orange or orange-brown colored stromata, which is a mass of fungal and host tissue. They grow in cracks and crevices, alone or in linear groups. This is an easy way to identify if a tree has been infected with this fungus, as seen in the picture. Some symptoms that this fungus causes are wilted leaves, cankers or stromata on the bark, and progressive death of twigs, branches, and roots. The fungus infects trees by infecting wound sites, such as where branches have broken off or cracks have formed, or where other biological factors have wounded the tree. These wounded areas are where the fungi grows and causes the cankers or stromata. The fungus colonizes bark tissues and kills them, taking over the tree and girdling it. In the fungus's native range in Asia, the native chestnut tree species have adapted to control fungal growth within their bark tissues. However, American chestnut trees do not have such adaptations, making them incredibly susceptible to the fungus.
Between 1904 and 1940, around 4 billion American chestnut trees succumbed to the blight. The species is not extinct. Old root systems still send out new shoots and attempt to grow. But with the blight established within the United States, these shoots tend to succumb to blight before they reach a reproductive age, and few fully grown trees remain. Why is the loss of this tree so significant? Historically, the tree has provided numerous services for humans and wildlife alike. Native Americans up the Appalachia used the logs of the tree for wood products, the leaves for traditional medicine, and the nuts for food. Settlers also used the tree in a similar fashion. The fast-growing, rot-resistant logs provided excellent materials for construction of cabins, fences, and furniture. The massive chestnuts provided by the trees nearly annually also provided an excellent food source for colonial people. Chestnuts could be collected for human consumption in the fall, so many excess nuts were produced that large amounts could be shipped and sold across the country. Farm animals such as pigs and cows could also have their diets subsidized by the nuts. Essentially, chestnuts fed everybody in colonial America. Native wildlife also depended heavily on the trees for hundreds of years before the blight was introduced. All sorts of animals such as squirrels, birds, bears, raccoons, and deer would have benefited tremendously from the massive nuts produced in fall, right before winter hibernation. The trees also provided excellent habitat for birds and insects. Overall, the American chestnut had been a staple to ecosystems and the lifestyle of Americans across the eastern United States.
The American Chestnut Foundation has spent decades breeding trees to try to find a way to restore the American chestnut. Although they are not quite there, they have almost developed an American chestnut that is blight resistant. This blight resistance has been obtained by backbreeding with Asian chestnut species. However, the problem still remains that the American chestnut is not restored to its native range. In an attempt to restore the species, several national forests are collaborating with scientists on studies to determine factors that influence establishment. 4 studies that are being conducted currently study 1, the importance of site quality compared to chestnut competitive availability and blight resistance. 2, the impact of deer browsing on chestnut survival and growth. 3, planted chestnut response to prescribed fire. And 4, the application of the 3-stage shelterwood system for chestnut establishment. All of these studies are being conducted in an attempt to find holistic tools for reintroducing the species.
Fun fact, in 1904, the forester Herman McCurl from the Bronx Zoo noticed something unusual with the American chestnut trees. So he called in for a mycologist, also known as a fungus expert, in which William A. Merle presented himself, and he soon figured out the cause 2 years later. But by then, the disease had spread as far south as Virginia. In 1924, Merle went on another trip to Europe for discovery, but seemed to have disappeared. Many thought he was dead, but it was soon known that he was stuck in France for 8 months dealing with kidney problems. Due to his missings, he lost his jobs and his wife divorced him. He ended up in Gainesville on UF campus collecting for the next 34 years of his life new species of fungi, of which 700 type collections are deposited in the Food and Agricultural Sciences Fungal Herbarium of UF.